Hi, this is Ed Gonfandini. I'm doing a demonstration today on assembling a trash-based cabinet, and this is to house a pull-out trash container. The thing that's unique about this particular cabinet is its overall width. It's only 13.5 inches wide, which is the only space that it was allowed left in the cabinet layout floor design. We needed to have room for a trash pull-out, but normally you need a minimum of like 15. But I was able to find a hardware supplier that had something that would take like 10.5, which is a minimum. So what I'm going to do is assemble this cabinet demonstration, including a drawer slide installation, which I believe is probably the most practical method that I've seen, and I've basically came up with this on my own, and it works really nice. It's simple, don't have a lot of involved fixtures and contraptions and gymnastics to put this together. And you can either put these slides in on the bench, which I generally do so everything's test fitted before I bring it out, or you can actually put these in the field. It doesn't matter because of the simplicity of this. It's not too difficult. And so we're going to start by assembling the sides and the bottom. And what I've got set up here is a bench with a nice, hard, flat, smooth surface. So you can use this to aid in the making sure that the panels are flush. And in this case, I'm using drywall screws. No need to pilot drill, because actually what will happen is, as this goes into the plywood panel, if it pushes it, all the better, because what it'll do is make it even tighter as it squeezes the plies against the dado. Now, because this particular cabinet is narrow, what I'm going to do is put the slide on before I put the other panel on. And this is a stretcher here, okay? And you can do here, get these positioned, get our slide, this section here, and this is a part of my unique system here. What I do is I run the dado all the way across, and then that allows me to put a block in here, and what this block will do is acts as a locator for the slides. So it can't be positioned anywhere but perfectly true and square. It's its only option. It can't go anywhere else because it's trapped by the stretcher and by my spacer block. And then I can just simply do is install this. And like I say, because the cabinet is narrow, this allows me, this method here, I can do that. Or you can wait till the box is together and then put the slides in. It's your preference depending on what you got to work with. There. Now, that's out of the way. That's there. We can take the other side and lay this one here across. There we go. Use a stretcher here to hold it. Now we're going to secure the bottom here. There again. There we go. Now, I do have an assistant, but I found that he is very little help. And his assistants are basically furry layabouts. They don't have too much concern about giving me a hand with this stuff, so in essence I'm working alone. because I've drawn out my center lines for the screws, I make sure that I hit them dead center. Now you can eyeball it if you're that confident of yourself, but every once in a while if something goes off a bit, then you got a problem you got to fix, right? So I avoid that. Now we can come over here and address the stretchers. Hello, stretchers. And here. No. And we got a couple more over here. Because this has a simple top drawer. There we go, very nice. And these cabinets are very stout, so you know they'll take a little bit of handling without any problems at all, even without glue in the joints. And the reason I don't use glue in the joints is basically because I like the ability to modify things. If you know, if you need a running change, it's very simple to take these down. In 20 minutes you can resize it and you're good to go. Now, we put one in the back here which is not edge banded. Make sure that's flush. And between this rear stretcher and the 1/2-inch back panel, that provides you a very strong sturdy cabinet that's square, plus it also gives you a way to mount it without having to go through the trouble of adding mounting strips that you have to do if you're using the 1/4-inch back method, which I don't care for at all. To me, I want something stout. There we go. Now we can rotate this around. Now what we can do here, before we put the back on, we can put this slide in, okay? Because if you put your back on first, which you can do in a larger cabinet, so like I say, what you're doing is here, each cabinet has its own particular circumstances, okay? So if this was a 24-inch wide cabinet, it'd be no concern if the back was on. You could get in there, you know, without any issue. In this case here, what we're gonna do is put the slide on before we put the back on. That way we can have easy access to it. It's just a little easier. You can always get a right-hand drill too, or right-angle drill I should say. You know, that comes along with your box of right-hand nails. But this one here, there we go. And also you got to keep modifying this because if the clutch isn't set properly, you're going to spin it out. There you go. Your clutch is your best friend on these drivers. If you don't use the clutch properly, you're going to strip things out, or you're going to snap screws, or you know, you're just going to have issues. So always be cognizant of that. Slide your opening there. They provide you an opening to reach these. There, you hear that? It's perfect. Now, that's done. Check everything. Okay, these two stretchers need to be put in. Now, and I got, there we go. Like that. And you want to make sure. There you go. And sometimes you got to have this little persuader handy. There you go. You got to reset that because you're going with more. What's that, Gracie? You got something to say? Boy, that was loud. Okay. The other helper over here, he's very quiet. He just sits in the corner. That's because I gave him an assignment and he totally screwed it up. So he's on the bad list. So now that's not going down. So what I always do here is I generally don't pilot drill them. But in this case, I like to have one handy just in case. Because what will happen is once in a while, if the screw hits a particular soft spot, there you go, in the material, it'll just spin. It won't come down nice and tight like you want. So now, there you go, slide angle, boom, done. And this one right here, we're going to hit this. And I do this because this gives us a little bit of grabbing ability when you're, make sure that's smooth. Perfect. Now, that one's going to need okay, now, okay, let's see, everything's attached together, good to go. Now what you can do here, bring this up, get the back on, which is right here, and, okay, and everything's always marked because you're going to have piles of materials all look alike, and when it comes assembly time, if you don't know where it goes, you spend an awful amount of wasted time looking for things. So there we go. And we can do this either right-handed or left-handed, depending on what we got. And to square this up, give that a little one tap there. And we've started. Okay. There. Now. Beautiful. And what happens is when this gets mounted in the field, the screws go the other way towards you. So this has got to be tight. And you never know where a stud's going to be, so you always want to have this. There you go. And we can put, now, just for the sake of demonstration, what I'm going to do here is find the tape measure, but well, I guess we're not going to do it. What I was going to do is go with the diagonal measurement on this. Ah, right behind me. Sorry about that. Okay, now 37 and 37. See, it doesn't matter what the dimension is as long as it's equal, okay? If it's a 1/16 off, that's probably okay within your tolerance, but you know, if you're starting to get 3/16 or a 1/4 inch or something, then you know you're off. But if you cut your back panel square, that's going to pretty much guarantee that the cabinet's going to be square. Okay, but I just want to check it for demonstration purposes. And then we're going to mount the bottom. Okay. There we go. And we're going to nice snug. There we go. Beautiful. And then what we can do here, instead of staples on the back, we can hit this with 1 1/4, and you practice and get your angle just right. You won't have any problem with it. It'll mount nice and tight. It won't pop through the inside. And you want to avoid your dado. Otherwise you're just hitting thin air. Okay. Okay. Whoop. Now, if you have one that gets a little bit gnarly with you, wants to complain, always throw a clamp on it. Not too tight. Just want it to come in. There we go. Now. Boom. There we go. Very nice. Okay. Okay, now, for the purposes of handling these things, you always got to be cognizant of the fact that you're going to have these, what I call micro slivers, which are fine fibers that you get from handling the plywood. And they're very much of a nuisance in the fact of slivers because they're very hard to get out and even find. So that's why, I use a sticky glove. Because it gives you a better grip, but it also protects you from that. I mean, over the years, I used to have, hands that were like a baseball mitt. But I found using the gloves, handling this plywood is just makes a lot more sense in the long run, Okay. Now, next phase is to do the drawer slides. And what I have there is a jig that I made up. And it consists of a nice flat piece of plywood, and it's got some guardrails that will position both the slide and the drawer box. Jig so that it's set up for a multitude of sizes of drawer boxes. And the nice thing about the jig is you can bring the jig in the field or you can do it at the shop. But this method here, by placing the female side of the slide in the box the way I have with positioners, and then also mounting this male side of the unit on the drawer box on the bottom, so it's dead flat, automatically gets you a minimal clearance and a very consistent positioning. Okay, there we go. Well, I guess this one just is a little tricky. So we'll go over here to the slot. There we go. I see what it is. That screw's been around the block. Okay. Got a dull point on it. Anyway, so here we go. We've got a drawer box, which is 1/2 inch bottom, fully marked. And now we're going to come back over here. See, I got the cameraman there. See this cameraman down there sitting in the corner? If he was worth a damn, I could have him using the camera and helping me out, but he's not worth anything. He's just he's a layabout. Okay, now, there you go. See, now your goal here is to have this set up so that your overall dimension of your cabinet, that your goal is 13.5, which it is. That's important, but what's a lot more important is maintaining an accurate inside dimension, and that is 12 inches. So based on that 12 inches and the fact that your slide units are nominal ½ inch each, your box has got to end up being exactly an inch smaller than your opening if you want the thing to work properly. If it's too big, you can do a couple different things to resize it. If it's too small, then there's a couple different ways to shim it. I mean, unless if it's grossly out of whack, you got to remake it. But there you go. Now watch that. See how sweet that is? Just as nice as can be. And now what's going to happen is with this, the next step with this is going to be, because it's a trash unit, this purchase part here, this assembly, gets mounted on the bottom of the cabinet, and then your basket assembly goes in there, and then this particular one I'm going to mount to the door. So after I make the drawer head and the doors, we'll finish that, and that'll be for another project day. But for now, I'm trying to do is get these boxes and drawer assemblies installed so they're ready to go. And now what we can do at this point is an assembly aid. Come on, Grace, move out of the way. Come on, buddy. What you got here is a nice assembly aid. This is a lift table, and I use this for a couple different things. It's an assembly aid for particular sizes that you can't reach so well on the bench, right? But then also, what you can do is you can transfer your cabinets onto this lift table, especially the huge drawer bases. And then what you can do is put them over on their storage area where you're going to put them, or you can load it right on the back of the truck, wherever you're headed with it. But it's an awfully nice way to handle this stuff, especially if you're working by yourself. Fergus, come over and introduce yourself. No, he's being shy. Come here. Come on. Come. Sit. You too. Sit. I want to say hi. Whoop. Hi. Well, they're a little shy. But anyway, so I try to be a little more entertaining with this one rather than just running screws and being boring. But in any event, this is a series of videos that I'm putting together, which is chronicling the number of steps that are involved in designing and making your own kitchen cabinets. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, or you're a contractor, or even a seasoned cabinet maker, woodworker, if you enjoy this, if you learn a little something from it, subscribe and give me a like. I've watched a lot of my peers' videos, and I pick up things here and there too. There's always some little tidbit that one guy does a little different. Oops. Like have a really good cameraman and a fixture. If you saw how I got this cameraman mounted, you'd have a good chuckle on that, because it's actually a combination of a cup holder, phone holder, and a spray gun holder clamped to a bench. So you got to be creative sometimes, But anyway, thank you very much, and look forward to doing more videos.